everyone, especially to you, Ma'am Divina Gracia.
I am Kimberly Ramos Tinopol, your first reporter.
I am Pearlie Jugita, your second reporter.
I'm Denver T. Akailar, your third reporter.
And I am Fria Arcaday, your fourth reporter. And we are the Group 5.
Reporting the Neo-Behaviorism by Edward Tolman
And Albert Bandura theory.
For today, I will discuss about the Edward Tolman's purposive behavior. But let us know first, who is Edward Tolman? Edward Tolman, or Edward Chase Tolman, was an American psychologist and a professor of psychology at the University of California, Berkeley. Through Tolman's theories and works, he founded what is now a branch of psychology known as purposive behaviorism. Tolman also promoted the concept known as latent learning, first coined by Blodgett in 1929. Born on April 14, 1886 at West Newton, Massachusetts, and died on November 19, 1959 at Berkeley, California. Let us proceed to what is purposive behaviorism. Purposive behaviorism is a branch of psychology that was introduced by Edward Tolman. It combines the objective study of behavior while also considering the purpose or goal behavior. Tolman taught that learning developed from knowledge about the environment and how the organism relates to its environment. In Tolman's purposive behavior, it implies a performance, the achievements of an altered relationship between the organism and the environment. Behavior was functional and programmatic. Behavior involved motivation and cognition. Behavior revealed purpose. What is purposive behaviorism implication to teaching and education? Behaviorism for the behavioral learning theory is a popular concept that focuses on how students learn. Behaviorism focuses on the idea that all behaviors are learned through interaction with the environment. Tolman's theory was called purposive behavior because it studies behavior as it is organized around purposes. Learning is always purposive and goal-oriented. Individuals act on beliefs, attitudes, changing conditions, and they strive towards goals. Tolman saw behavior as holistic, purposive, and cognitive. There are key concepts of Tolman's purposive behaviorism. Purposive behaviorism is a theoretical approach to psychology that was developed in the early 20th century. It stresses purposive action and incorporates functional relations between stimuli, responses, and reinforcing consequences. Purposive behaviorism theory states that animals and humans learn by associating their behaviors with positive or negative reinforcement from the environment. What are some examples of purposive behaviorism? Examples of purposive behaviorism are when people do things to achieve their goals, engaging in activities that are fun and enjoyable, doing things for the sake of doing them, not because they have a specific purpose, acting without thinking about what the consequences will be. What are the contributions of Edward Tolman? Edward Tolman is best known for cognitive behaviorism, his research on cognitive maps and theory of latent learning, and the concept of an intervening variable.
Tolman's key concepts. Learning is always purposive and goal-directed. Tolman asserted that learning is always purposive and goal-directed. He held the notion that an organism acted or responded for some adaptive purpose. He believed individuals do more than merely respond to stimuli. They act on beliefs, attitudes, changing conditions, and they strive toward goals. Tolman saw holistic, purposive, and cognitive maps in his most famous experiment. One group of rats was placed at random starting location in a maze, but the food was always in the same location. Another group of rats had the food placed in different locations, which always required exactly the same pattern of thorns from their starting location. The group that had the food is the same location performed much better than the other group. Supposedly, demonstrating that they had learned the location rather than a specific sequence of thorns. This is tendency to learn location signified that rats somehow form cognitive maps that help them perform well on the maze. He also found out that organisms will select the shortest or easiest path to achieve a goal. Applied in human learning. Since a student passes by the same route going to school every day, he acquires a cognitive map of the location of his school. So when transportation rerouting is done, he can still figure out what turns to make to get to school the shortest or easiest way. Intervening variables. Intervening variables are variables that are not readily seen but serve as determinants of behavior. Tolman believed that learning is mediated or is influenced by expectations, perceptions, representations, need, and other internal or environmental variables. Example, in his experiments with rats, he found out that hunger was an intervening variable. Reinforcement are not essential for learning. Tollman concluded that reinforcement is not essential for learning, although it provides an incentive for performance. In his studies, he observed that a rat was able to acquire knowledge of the way through a maze to develop a cognitive map even in the absence of reinforcement. Applied in human learning. A 2-year-old always says her dad operate the TV.
I will tackle about or getting to know the American psychologist Albert Bandura. So Albert Bandura was born on December 4, 1925 in Mandaire, Alberta, Canada, and he was died on July 26, 2021 in Stanford, California, US. He is a Canadian-born American psychologist and the originator of social cognitive theory, who is probably best known for his modeling study on aggression, referred to as the Boo-Boo doll experiment, that is demonstrated that children can learn behaviors through the observations of adults. Did you know that Bandura was the youngest of 6 children born to parents of Western European descent? His father was born from Krakow, Poland, and his mother from Ukraine. Both emigrated to Canada as adolescents. After marrying, they settled in Mandaire, Alberta, where Bandura's father worked, laying track for the Trans-Canada Railroad. Furthermore, after graduating from high school in 1946, Bandura pursued a bachelor degree at the University of British Columbia, and in 1949, he graduated with the Bolokan Award in Psychology, annually awarded to the outstanding student in psychology. He then did graduate work at the University of Iowa, where he received a master's degree in psychology in 1951 and a doctorate in clinical psychology in 1952. Now, let's move on or tackle about in his purposive behaviorism or his social learning theory. So let us know first what is purposive behaviorism. Bandura is known for his social learning theory. He is quite different from other learning theories who look at learning as a direct result of conditioning, reinforcement, and punishment. Bandura asserts that most human behavior is learned through observation, imitation, and modeling. So, what is the purpose of social learning theory? The purpose of this learning theory is based on the ideas that people learn by watching what others do, and that human thought processes are central to understanding personality. This theory provides a framework for understanding, predicting, and changing human behavior. Now, let's move on. What are the implications for social learning theory on teachers and student learning? Certainly, this theory can be used to teach positive behaviors to students. Teachers can use positive role models to increase desired behaviors and thus change the culture of a school. Not only will individual students benefit from positive role models in and out of the classroom, but the entire class and student will do so. Bandura's purposive behaviorism promotes and encouraging children and building self-efficacy are rooted in social learning theory. For example, if a teacher is positive with their students and they encourage them, this positive energy and verbal encouragement in turn helps build self-efficacy, the belief in one's abilities to succeed in various situations. Furthermore, Bandura states that learning every single thing from personal experience is hard and could be potentially dangerous. He claims that much of a person's life is rooted in social experiences. Thus, observing others is naturally advantageous to gaining knowledge and skills. Now, it's my turn to study things on what I understand about the social learning theory and how does Bandura influence me. As you can see, Bandura's theory recognizes the influence that others can have on us, whether it's parents, friends, a sport teams, a religious group, or your broader culture. But at the same time, it emphasizes that while we may learn how to act and behave from those around us, we are not just pushed this way or that by factors out of the control. We also have the ability to choose our actions and our behavior. Studying Bandura's theory helped me to begin to understand the complex interaction of social, environmental, and personal factors that affect each and every one of us. However, the more important influence that Bandura had on me was how his theories have translated into how I work to the people. One aspect of my practice that Bandura helped me understand is my own social learning experience and how things like my upbringing and education can influence the way I see things differently to the people. Furthermore, being aware of different perspectives in the room is important and often beneficial to the therapy process because two heads are better than one when you're trying to find a solution something that is having a negative effect on your life. In conclusion, observation plays a very powerful role in learning. It not only helps teach students, but helps them to successfully understand, retain, and apply their learning to their lives so they can learn and achieve even more. For this, we thank Albert Bandura for his social learning theory contribution.
Neo-Behaviorism of Albert Bandura. But before we go on to the main topic, let's go back what is the meaning of Neo-Behaviorism. Neo-Behaviorism is the behavior that cannot be fully understood or simple in terms of observable stimuli and reaction. Neo-behaviorism introduced mediating variables into the behaviorist stimulus response scheme. In education, it is used to understand how people or students learn to gain knowledge in order to be successful. Now, let's go back to our main topic about Albert Bandura's belief in neo-behaviorism. But before we go on to the topic, please remember your childhood days
Do you remember learning to ride a bike or skateboard? I bet some of you learned by guiding by your teacher or parents, but some of you learned by observing or watching someone ride their bike or skateboard. So, this time, this is Albert Bandura, and those memory or experiences that you remembered is what Albert Bandura, social cognitive psychologist, believe. Bandura's social cognitive theory of human functioning emphasized the critical role of self-belief in human cognition, motivation, and behavior. Social cognitive theory gives prominence to a self-esteem that enables individuals to exercise a measure of controls over their thoughts, feelings, and actions. It focuses on how information processed by the brain and how learning occurs in internal processing information. Albert Banderas was known for his social learning theory that also emphasized the importance of observing, modeling, and imitating the behaviors, attitude, and emotional reaction of others. So, this theory considers how both environmental and cognitive function interact to influence human learning behaviors. In earlier, it is said in Tolman theory that he believed that students or humans are motivated by what is most important to us, while Bandura's theory states that we are motivated by goals that we can be achieved. Bandoras assert that most people's behavior is learned through observation, imitation, and modeling. Social learning theory focuses on the learning that occurs within a social context. Our behavior is learned from the environment through the process of observational learning. When we say observational learning, it is like the child observe the people around them and may copy what they observe from the other people. Next, I will discuss the three general principles of social learning theory. 1. People can learn by observing the behavior of others and outcomes of that behavior. It is like the young child nowadays that watching cartoon on TV and then must imitate it or copy it. Second, learning can occur without a change in behavior. It is focused in the learning that occurs within a social context it considered. People learn on what they learn from one another, including such as concepts as observational learning, imitation, and modeling. Third and last, social learning theory can be considered a bridge or a transition between a behaviorist learning and cognitive learning. This focuses on how cognitive factors are involved in learning. Bandoras believed that humans are active information processors and think about relationship between their behavior and its consequences. Observational learning could not occur unless the cognitive process was at work. Individuals do not automatically observe the behavior of a model and imitate it. There is some thought prior or imitation, and this consideration is called mediational process. This occurs between observing the behavior and imitating it or not. Then next I will discuss the four meditational process or the factor that ensure success in learning. First, we have the attention. Attention, wherein the person or the student must pay attention to their behavior and its consequences and form a mental representation of that behavior. It is understandable. Then second, we have the retention. The retention is the observer must be able to remember the behavior that has been observed. So it is important therefore that the memory of the behavior is formed to be performed later by the observer. Then next, we have the reproduction. Reproduction, it is the ability to perform the behavior that the model has just demonstrated. Imitation may not always possible because we are limited by our physical activity. And lastly, we have the motivation. Motivation is the last and the final necessity ingredients to core end. So motivation, it is the willingness to perform the behavior, the reward, and the punishment that follows a behavior will be considered by this observer. So, social learning approach takes two processes into account and acknowledge the role that they play in deciding if behavior is to be imitated or not. We have a lot of cognitive control over our behavior. Not because we have experienced the violence does not mean we have the reproduce such as that behavior. Always remember, we are always free to neglect those behavior from the models that surround us, from the people who inspired us, and from the people who guiding us. Next, for the implication of social learning theory on teachers and student learning, this theory can be used to teach positive behaviors to students. Teacher can use positive roles model to increase desired behavior and thus change the culture of the school. Encouraging students and building self-efficacy is that way. Other classroom strategies such as encouraging students and building self-efficiency are rooted in social learning theory. For example, if the teacher is positive with their student and he or she encourage the student by those positive energy, the verbal encouragement in return it help to build self-efficacy that believe in one's abilities to succeed in various situations. In conclusion, observational plays a very powerful role in learning. It does not help teach a student but help them to successfully understand, retain, and apply their learning to their lives so they can learn and achieve even more in their life. Then, for the reflection from this unit, learning is always positive and goals directed according to the Tolman and Bandura. Cognitive processes promotes learning to pupils and teaching new concepts. Learners may have their interests to fill in the acknowledge or knowledge they want. So this is again the group 5. Thank you and God bless.